The Atlanta Falcons have came out and basically said that they are a quarterback away. Head coach Raheem Morris literally said that if the Falcons had better quarterback play last season, that he probably wouldn't even be the head coach of the Falcons and that Arthur Smith got fired for bad quarterback play. Our new OC, Zach Robinson, and our general manager, Terry Fournette, have come out and said quarterback is the most important position that we are looking at. And I truly believe that the Atlanta Falcons think that they're a quarterback away, which that's a terrible mindset to have, and they're completely wrong. But that is not what this video is going to be on. This video is going to be on what are the Falcons going to do at quarterback. And how I see it, there's only 4 options. I honestly don't see any other route they're going to take. They have one of 4 choices, or I guess they could do other things, but let me rephrase that. It's going to be one of these 4 options. One of these 4 things will happen. And I'm just going to go and talk about all 4 of them. Maybe at the end, I'll rank them on what I would most likely want to happen, or at least what I think's most likely to happen. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the 4 options that the Falcons have, or at least that I see they will do. Number 1, trade up for a quarterback. Now, the Atlanta Falcons have pick 8, and there are 3 really upper echelon quarterbacks here. So if we look at the quarterbacks here, there's Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, and I think that QB 1A and 1B is Caleb Williams and Drake May. They are in that upper echelon top tier of quarterback. Then there's a little fall off, not a lot, a little fall off, Jaden Daniels. And then a pretty big fall off, JJ McCarthy, Penix Jr., Bo Nix. The Falcons could, I've seen this a lot, stick at 8 and pick JJ McCarthy. I don't see Atlanta doing that. I honestly don't see Atlanta doing that. I personally believe if Atlanta is going to draft a quarterback in this draft class, they're going to trade up and either get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels. These 3 are clearly the best 3 quarterbacks in this draft class. And if you think you're a quarterback away, you're going to want to take a quarterback who is proven that he can instantly start, because who the fuck is he going to sit behind in Atlanta and start right away and make an impact immediately? That's not Bo Nix. That's not Michael Penix Jr. That's not JJ McCarthy. All 3 of these guys would benefit tremendously from sitting for a season, or at least having a mentor to help them out. I've heard that Michael Penix Jr. has been on the rise because of how accurate he is. We already knew this. We already knew that Michael Penix Jr., with no pressure in his face, is phenomenal. I watched that national championship game against Michigan, and he looked like shit because he actually had pressure in his face. Washington had one of the best offensive lines in college football, and he constantly went up against Pac-12 defenses that never applied any pressure. Then, when he actually had to face teams that put pressure in his face, Michigan, he looked inaccurate. He looked sporadic. And you could say, oh, well, it was just the moment. Maybe he had the jips. And you know what? That's a fair play. But do you want a quarterback that has the yips to instantly start in the NFL if you think you are a quarterback away? Do you really want to go through those growing pains with Michael Penix Jr. if you're the Falcons? I don't think so. At least not at pick 8. So if you look at who they can trade up with, I honestly think the Chicago Bears are sticking at 1 and taking Williams. Reports are coming out in New England that they really want a quarterback as well, and I don't blame them. When you've watched Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi for the last 3 years and you are in a position to draft a quarterback, I think you draft the damn quarterback. I think the most likely trade-up team here would be number 2 at Washington, just because Washington's roster is so bad and they already have so much draft capital. I think they're the team that's most likely to trade down. I think potentially you can maybe say, oh, well, we have Sam Howell, even though I don't think it's going to happen. Let me be very clear here. I do not think any 3 of these 3 teams will trade down. I think it's going to go Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, top 3 picks. I'm almost certain of that. At where I am right now, I am 80% sure that that's what's going to happen. I think there was a report that came out and said that the Patriots are considering signing Jacoby Brissett to a 1-year contract and drafting Jaden Daniels and having him sit for a year, which I think would be very smart. But alas, this is an option the Falcons have. If they want to send 3 first-round picks, They can trade all the way up to 2 or maybe even 3 if they send a good enough deal to Washington or New England and draft either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. Option number 2, and what has been the hot topic right now, is Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, in terms of how much, this seems to be all smoke, in my opinion. Like, the main thing that is linking Kirk Cousins to the Falcons is that Kirk Cousins' wife is from Georgia. Kirk Cousins has not expressed any issue or not expressed any desire to play for Atlanta. The Falcons have not expressed any desire to sign Kirk Cousins. This seems to be just smoke and mirrors, and people just want a hot topic right now, and they're like, oh, well, Kirk Cousins to the Falcons makes sense. And while I don't disagree, I think it does make sense. There so far has been absolutely zero links connecting Kirk Cousins to the Falcons, except that his wife's from Georgia and that the Falcons need a quarterback. Those are the links to Kirk Cousins to the Falcons. But I think that this is a legitimate option for the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is going to now be a free agent. He's 35 years old. And the last couple of years, Kirk Cousins has actually looked really damn good since 2020. Last 3 years, Kirk Cousins has actually played phenomenal. And this season in 2023, Kirk Cousins was also playing really damn good ball before he got hurt. Kirk Cousins is a sneaky underrated quarterback. I'm not saying he's phenomenal by any means. He is not upper echelon by any means. But it's not. The Minnesota Vikings defense is ass. Let's put it frankly. That Vikings defense is not good. And the team without Kirk Cousins literally won a game 3-0. They need Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins makes that offense tick. And there was reports that came out that Minnesota Vikings offense was very hard to manage, but Kirk Cousins did it, and he got the job done there in Minnesota. And if you're Atlanta, this clearly isn't the long-term answer. He is 35. But say you were to sign Kirk Cousins to a 2 to 3 year deal, you would get him until he was 38. Write him out for the last 2-3 years of his career, see how he goes. Maybe you draft a quarterback, maybe not this year, but next year, and have him sit for a year or two behind Cousins. I don't hate this plan. Obviously, the big thing is how much money is Kirk Cousins going to want? Reports come out that say that Kirk Cousins want the bag, but Kirk Cousins also came out and said that where he is at in his career, winning is more important to him. Kirk Cousins is 35, and if you look at his playoff stats, is 1-3 in the playoffs. That's kind of insane that Kirk Cousins is 35 and has only made it to the playoffs. You can't really count this 2012 season because this was for RG3, but he's only really been in the playoffs 3 times, and he's 1-3. Kirk Cousins, it's not looking good for him. I think he wants to win now, so maybe that is a reason why he goes to Atlanta, because if you look at the QB needy teams, Atlanta could be the best option that you got there, especially if you say, hey, let's draft Kirk Cousins and then maybe get Rome Odunze at pick 8. I've heard that that's a hot commodity, and I do actually think if we sign Kirk Cousins, that could very well be what we do, is pick up a wide receiver, Rome Odunze, at 8. Option 3 for the Falcons is trade for Justin Fields. And now, I kind of made a video talking about this. My video was that the Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams. And Justin Fields is very interesting to me because he's ass, and people are treating Justin Fields like he's really damn good for some reason. I don't know why Bears fans want to stick with him. I really don't. And I also don't know why Falcons fans want us to trade for Fields and act like we become a contender with Fields at quarterback. You guys are tripping. If anyone thinks that Justin Fields is a winning quarterback with the performance that you have seen from him, you are insane. And I honestly don't trust your football takes. If you look at Justin Fields and his career and says, you know what, that's the guy right there that's going to take us to a Super Bowl. Are you out of your mind? Let's just look at Justin Fields' stats here for a second. And I've watched Justin Fields' games. His first 2 seasons, ass. First 2 seasons, ass. There is no other way that you can put this. Look at this rookie season here. And I know he didn't start at the beginning, but it's like 10 starts, 2-8 record, 7-10 touchdown ratio. 7-10. Ass. Then you look at his second season. Oh yeah, he took a big step up. He won 1 more game. The Bears went 3-12. He played in 15 games and had 17 passing touchdowns and only had 2,000 yards. He was basically averaging like what? 150 passing yards a game? What the hell is this? AP MVP 9? What the hell did he win? What even is this? What? Oh my God, who the fuck voted for him? He is surely trolling. This season, his third season, was for sure his best season. Do not get me wrong. Was Justin Fields' best season. But 5-8, averaging less than 200 passing yards a game, 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. This is his best season so far. This is his best season. So if you look at this phenomenal 2023 season he had, he stat padded. Look at the game against the Denver Broncos and the Washington Commanders. Both these teams are ass, by the way, where he put up 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception. You subtract these 2 games from Justin Fields' career, in the next 11 games, he went 8 for 8. 8 for 8. 8 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions in 11 games. He had 2 really damn good games, and I think Falcons fans are delusional because he also looked pretty damn good against us. So you can also say this Atlanta game was good. He had 3 games. He had 3 good games. 3! And looked like shit in 10 games. But you know what? 3 out of 10 good games is apparently enough for people to really want Justin Fields. I don't get it. But you know what? Maybe Atlanta says, hey, we have more talent than the Bears do, and if all we have to give up is a second-round pick for Justin Fields, give up that second-round pick for Fields. You get him for a year. I don't know if they're able to... I don't know if you're able to actually pick up a person's fifth-year option if you trade for him before that happens. Maybe, maybe not. So you pick him up, you get him for a year or 2 for a second-round pick, see if he develops under your scheme, under your system. For a second-round pick, I don't think it's a terrible option, but if you really think Justin Fields is taking you to the Super Bowl, or your team becomes that much better because of Justin Fields, come on. Come on, let's stop kidding ourselves here. And finally, the most recent addition to the realistic options I see for the Atlanta Falcons is Russell Wilson. Now, hold on, but before you come at my heads here, if you're a Falcons fan, I just want to show you something here. Russell Wilson had better stats than Justin Fields. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Russell Wilson actually played fucking better than Justin Fields did in 2023, and no one wants to talk about that. Now, I'm not saying I would prefer Russell Wilson over Justin Fields. I'm not saying that at all. But let's look at this here. If you sign Justin Fields, you have to essentially probably give up a second-round pick for him, is what I would assume it is. I've seen some people say it's only a third. Dude, you have no clue what it is for Justin Fields. I guess I don't either. So maybe it could be a third. But let's just, for the sake of this argument, let's say it's a second, or fuck it. Say it's 2/3, all right? 2 third-round picks. Maybe it's a third conditional second, all right? We don't know. But you essentially do have to give up a top 100 more premium pick for Justin Fields. And then you only get him for a year. Maybe 2 years. With Russell Wilson, the Denver Broncos have to pay his salary up to, I think it's either $35 or $39 million. So the Atlanta Falcons could essentially sign Russell Wilson. If they sign him to a 30-year contract, or a $30 million contract, the Denver Broncos have to pay all of it, except I think for 1.23 million. So if the Atlanta Falcons choose to sign him to a vet minimum contract and only give him 1.23 million, the Broncos then have to give him $35 million. I mean, if you think about it that way, you can get Russell Wilson and only have him cost $2 million on your cap book, and the Broncos have to pay the rest of it. If you're the Falcons, and say what you really want to do here is you sign Russell Wilson. In the first round, you either take Dallas Turner or Rome Odunze. And in the second round, you draft Penix Jr. if he's still there. Maybe even trade into the first round and get Michael Penix Jr. is it such a terrible option to start Russell Wilson for 1 year and have Penix Jr. learn behind him? I'm just saying, is that a bad option to sign Russell Wilson for basically nothing, have Penix Jr. sit behind him for a season or two? I mean, I'm just saying that's an option. That's an option. I'm not saying it's a good option, but it is an option. And then, oh, also, little stat note here. Look at that, 7-8. Wow. Russ had more wins than Justin Fields too. More touchdowns, more yards, and less picks. Less interceptions in more games. Wow. That's quite interesting there for Russell Wilson. Now, in terms of my opinion, I honestly don't know what I would prefer, because all of these options have pros and cons. Like Kirk Cousins, I think you get Kirk Cousins if you want to win now. He's the most win now option if you're Atlanta. So you draft Kirk Cousins, or pick up Kirk Cousins, then, draft Rome Odunze or draft Dallas Turner. In the second round, get another wide receiver, because the Falcons do need a wide receiver too. So get a wide receiver too for Kirk Cousins, build up that defense in the draft or in free agency. Basically, either draft a wide receiver or draft an edge, and what you don't do, pick up in free agency, vice versa. Put yourself in win now mode. Trading up in the draft, you know what? Drake May or Jaden Daniel could be phenomenal, and if we don't have to give up too much for that, and then we get our quarterback of the future for the long run, that's nice, having a franchise quarterback that you can develop. Justin Fields, you know what? Like I said, if it is just a second or if it is just a third round pick, I don't hate it. As much as I was shitting on him, he at least took a step up in 2023, and maybe you can tell yourself, oh, he just had a bad team around him and bad coaching. And you know what? Maybe a change of scenery could be good for him. And for just a second round pick, I don't hate seeing it, okay? He was at least better than Desmond Ridder. So it's at least an upgrade on Ridder. And then, like I said with Russ, shit, if we sign Russ to a vet minimum deal, we only owe him $1 million. We're paying him only $1 million. If we were to pay him a ton of money, Kirk Cousins is going to cost 30 to 40 mil. Russell Wilson is 30 to 40 million cheaper than Kirk Cousins. And like I said, if you draft Russell Wilson, you sign him to 1 to 2 year deal. Russell Wilson comes in thinking, hey, I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to prove that I can win. So you got a guy with a chip on his shoulder, and if Russell Wilson balls out, great. And if he doesn't, well, that's why I just said draft Michael Penix Jr. or JJ McCarthy. Or JJ McCarthy's probably going to go earlier, so it would have to be Michael Penix Jr. But draft like Michael Penix Jr., trade up for him in late first, use that Jacksonville Jaguars pick, trade up in 30, 31, 32, steal Michael Penix Jr., have him sit behind Russ for a year or two, and now we have a not franchise quarterback, but we have a veteran QB that can teach Michael Penix Jr. and compete for a season in Russell Wilson. So every single option here has pros and cons to it, and I essentially don't hate any of them as long as it's executed properly. Russ is probably my least favorite one. Russell Wilson's probably the option I'd want the least, but I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to all of these. Last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to rank these in terms of what I think Atlanta's honestly going to do. And I would say probably dead last is trading up for a quarterback, just because I don't think any of those top teams are going to want to trade up, and I don't think Atlanta's going to offer what it takes to do that. Then is probably Russell Wilson, and then I think the top as like third, and then I think the two most realistic options are Justin Fields and Kirk Cousins. At this point, there's been so much damn smoke around what Atlanta's going to do. I don't even think they know what they're going to do. No one knows, because I've heard from so many sources, oh, the Falcons are going to trade up. Oh, Kirk Cousins wants to go to Atlanta and the Falcons want him. Oh, the Falcons have already been talking to the Bears about a Justin Fields trade. There's been so much smoke around Atlanta, and I'm going to be honest with you, any insider that says they know what the Falcons are doing are full of shit. Nobody knows what they're doing. All four of these options are on the board. I think the most likely is Cousins or Fields, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Russ as well. But anyways, guys, please leave comments down below on what you think of this video. Tell me if you think I am dumb or if you completely agree with what I have to say, and peace.